KB in the bay going crazy. Put peace on the hood Mercedes. Young boys letting off 80. Leaning next to a DR like Haiti. This ain't no Porter, no Bailey. No internet clown gon' play me. Money ain't never gon' make me. I can win with a couple bucks like Brady. And she ain't baby, you cannot shame me. What they gon' pay me to shut my mouth? Ain't gotta okay me, then they gon' save me. I'm finna stay free.
If you don't even know what you're signing up for, not only are you going to show up to the battle with some shorts and a t-shirt and a popsicle on your stick, but you're going to be taken aback by what you're invited into. And you're going to be like, why are we doing this? Who is this? What is that? What are we?
That's right.
And so I kind of wanted to ask you, like, as far as, having a stable foundation, what would you recommend someone who wants to go into ministry, or somebody that's already in it, who finds themselves questioning everything, not necessarily because they're not called, not necessarily because this isn't where God is leading them, but because they're not necessarily ready for it or haven't built the foundation that they need to really wrestle through a lot of the things that are thrown at them. Because at the end of the day, as a minister of the gospel, somebody that's serving, you're always going to have a target on your back.
Absolutely.
You're going to need, to your point, the tools necessary to overcome a lot of those battles that come your way. But yeah, what would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, so what would be needed for them, right? They're not in ministry, but they're wanting to go in ministry, but how do we properly equip them for what's ahead, right? I would say, number one, get yourself under submission of leadership. Like, understand how that works. I think there's a lot of people who excuse me, who want to, who feel like they're called to ministry, who feel like they're called to leadership, but have never actually submitted themselves under leadership to begin with. So I think it's important to understand, like, what, if I'm gonna lead somebody, I've got to learn to be led by somebody. I have to see what that means and what that looks like. So I got to commit to a local church that's obviously in alignment with scripture, that has good biblical views and values and all that stuff, right? But I got to commit myself to the local church, commit myself under pastors that I can be led by, that I can be equipped by, that I can be poured into by, and that I can also submit myself under. Just like basic one-on-one training. Like, you want to lead, learn to be led first, right? Yeah. So that's number one. But more than that, number two, I would also just say, hey, the time for ministry and the time to do will come. That's inevitable, right? Like, the time to give and to pour out and to serve and to be at the forefront and to lead and to do all that, it will come. Yeah. But this season that you have now to be in secret with the Lord, this season that you have right now to deepen and strengthen your intimacy with him, the season that you have now to, like, learn how to identify the sound of his voice and where he's calling you to be and who he's calling you to lead. It's so vital that you really strengthen that in this season now, that you have, before the demands and the needs and the responsibilities of ministry really come onto you. Yeah. And, like, learning to recognize the voice of the shepherd in the midst of all of this is just so important. And I can't tell you, Ebenezer, how many times I've been in circles and in spaces where there are people who are responsible for leading masses, but haven't still figured out how to identify the voice of the one who's supposed to lead them, you know? And it's like, man, deepen your intimacy, like, deepen your bond with the Lord, deepen and strengthen what you have with him in secret, because it's going to be vital for how he uses that in public, you know? And so that's something that I would, like, put, like, asterisks on, bold, highlight, underline, emphasize, like, please take time to deepen that with the Lord. The thrust of ministry is not the place to deepen intimacy, you know, like, in that moment, you're being led by having to make decisions, by having to meet needs, by having to meet responsibility. Like, take time now and develop that discernment and that intimacy with him. So that would be that one thing I'll tell people in that. And then the other thing I would also say is, just along of how do we prepare and how do we equip, is, like, understand fully what it requires to lay your life down for service of the Lord. Like, have an understanding, and please don't pull that understanding from Instagram. Don't pull that understanding from, like, the most famous celebrity big pastors that you know.
Like, this ain't clout. This isn't real life. I got a real life. Christ is better, and it ain't no doubt. I ain't got time to debate. There's countries to save. Afghanistan, Cuba, I pray.